In this video, we will show you how to do an assembly on a front-mounted multiplex unit using a 53618-M wiring kit. This kit will consist with an owner's manual, the module, the lift frame mounted module plate, a lift frame wiring harness, and an underhood harness, and bolts and accessories. First, we're going to mount the module on the module plate using the bolts applied in the kit with the bolts facing in. Next, we're going to install the lift frame harness to the module. First, you will apply dielectrical grease to all the connections. Then, using a 1/4-inch nut driver, attach it to the module. Once this is done, you can install this assembly to the lift frame. When installing the module on the low lift frame, make sure the 2 bolts are facing out. Next, install the grommets onto the plate. Next, you will slide the mounting bracket as far as you can to the outside and then tighten the bolts. Next, you will run the harness to the outside of the lift frame, securing it with the supplied zip ties. Secure the harness using the zip tie supplied in the kit to the back of the pump plate. Next, install the hoses and the power cable onto the power unit, and install it onto the low boy lift frame. After putting the pump inside the lift frame, you will secure it in place using the 3/8 bolts. Next, install the wires to the coils, following the diagram in the instructions. Before installing, use dielectrical grease on the connections. You will then secure the remaining wires to the harness using electrical tape. You want to run the light harness inside the pump plate. Using dielectrical grease, you want to plug in the harness from the module, the long side going to the driver's side, the short side going to the curb side. Using the zip tie supplied in the kit, zip tie the remaining harness together. Next, install the lift cylinder, lift channel, and the hose to the lift cylinder. Next, we are going to install the truck side underhood harness. To do this, you need the solenoid, a 135 amp circuit breaker, controller harness, the light adapter, a 22-inch power harness, a 56-inch power harness, power cable to the front of the truck, and a ground cable that will go from the battery to the front of the truck. Each truck has its own specific light adapter harness. You're going to start by feeding your main control harness up through the truck into the cab. You want to start by feeding it down through the grill area and out through the front. Next, we can feed this end through the firewall, through the main truck harness on the grommet, through the grommet boot. After feeding the control harness through the firewall, you're going to zip tie the power underneath towards the middle, underneath the steering column. Next we will install the fuse wire harness. With this truck we have the mini fuse, so we will have to cut off the 1/4 inch tab and install the 3/16. Now that I've installed the 3/16 female connector, I'm going to attach it to a 10 amp ignition source fuse using the 3/16 tab to this fuse. Next we will install the fuse tab to the 10 amp fuse. It is very important to attach the fuse wire to a 10 amp ignition source fuse. You now want to attach the black wire to the ground post and the red wire to the positive post on the batteries. The brown is going to go to the solenoid. We installed the power wire from the main harness to the positive side on the battery and the negative to the negative side on the main truck battery. The 56-inch power cable has been installed to the battery going to the circuit breaker with a 22-inch from the circuit breaker to the solenoid. This is your circuit breaker and this is your solenoid. We then installed the power cable to the solenoid out to the front of the truck. We then installed the ground cable to the battery out to the front of the truck. The power cable and the main harness are zip tied up out of the way from any moving parts and hot objects. It is important to apply the electrical grease to all your connections. Next, you can remove the truck lights to install the light adapter harness. The light adapter harness will have a short side which will go to the driver's side with your turn signal and a park. The wires for the turn signal and park will be marked. Scotch locks are provided so that you can attach the park and the turn signal to the truck. The longer side will go to the passenger side and it will have just a turn signal. There is also wires attached to the harness one will go to the positive side of a battery, the other the negative side of the battery. The plug of the harness will go to the driver's side front of the truck. The connector for the main light harness will go to the front of the truck. When using the Scotch locks, make sure you apply the electrical grease to the lock and then attach to the harness. Then you will tap into the truck harness. It is very important to apply the electrical grease to the relays and to all the plugs. Repeat as well to the driver's side to the curb side. Power wire has been installed to the positive side on the battery and the negative side to the negative side of the battery. The harnesses will be zip tied up out of the way from any hot objects. And will come out to the front of the truck. After greasing all connections, reattach truck light harness to the light adapter. And then attach all the other plugs. Next we can secure the lights back in with the bolts and the grill. After finishing the install on the truck, we will use the Alex release on the connections and connect the wires to the plow. To check if your power fuse wire is on the proper ignition fuse, plug the controller in, turn on the controller. If it doesn't turn on, okay. So now turn the ignition on and turn the controller on. Then you know you have it on the right fuse. To transfer the lights from the vehicle headlights to the plow headlights, the following must be done. The vehicle ignition is turned on. Vehicle headlight switch is turned on. The plow is plugged in by the grill. The plow controller in cab is plugged in and turned on. Turning the vehicle ignition off acts as a reset for the light system. When you're driving down the road with the plow on, if you turn the controller off, the lights will stay on the plow. After following that procedure, you'll notice that the plow lights are now turned on. You can now check to see if the plow's power unit operates properly.